episode 67, Why You Should Blog Even If You Don't Know What to Say. Hello and welcome to the Gayla Scrivener Show. I am certainly glad you're here this week. You're in the right place if you're looking for ideas and inspiration to start and grow your own small business. Just because you're a small business owner doesn't mean that you think small. On the contrary, you think big. I broke away from the 9-to-5 grind and was stifled by a cubicle to create a work-from-anywhere lifestyle. Having the freedom to work from practically anywhere is such a cool feeling. But here's the thing though, it doesn't happen overnight and it doesn't happen without work. But all the time and the effort, the stretching and the learning is so worth it. Every week in this podcast, I'm sharing my experiences that I've had in growing my business and achieving the work from anywhere lifestyle. You too can experience wonderful adventure and the freedom to live a life on your own terms. Be proud to be small, yet always remember, think big. As soon as you make the decision to be your own boss, to start your own business, you become a marketer. Like it or not, you are a marketer now. Even if you don't like the idea of marketing or advertising, the honest-to-goodness truth is that you want to be in business for yourself, so you've got to market your business. There's no getting around it. You must get the word out to attract your ideal customer to sell the goods or services that you have to offer. That's just a fact. But so many people just starting out with being in business for themselves need to come to grips with that fact. And I certainly had to come to grips with it when, I first started out. And I, quite frankly, was reluctant. I had this perception of what advertising was and what marketing was, and it kind of had a negative twist to it, probably because this idea of advertising as being manipulative. Well, it doesn't have to. In the beginning, I really didn't know where to start and what to do with my marketing. All I knew was I needed to get out there and tell people, and so I started with joining a networking group that met every week. But online, I didn't really understand it didn't click on what I needed to do. I felt inadequate, honestly, because I'd see what the people that I follow were doing and I'd get overwhelmed because everything that they were doing, like the blogging, the social media, the live events, the courses, the podcasting, the video, on. And then that's not to mention that they were talking about the stuff like list building, freebies, email segmentation, tagging, funnels. Oh my gosh, auto sequences, audience targeting. Oh my goodness. Do you feel overwhelmed just by all that list? It's enough to make your head spin. You start to feel terrible because you think you should be doing all of that stuff, and you may have good intentions on starting many of those things, but that mountain looks so big that you simply feel like imploding instead of start climbing that mountain. So I'm here to say, just let it go. Stop comparing yourself to those that have been doing it longer than you. Instead, just take note. Take note into what they're doing to gain ideas and inspiration to keep your momentum going. You need to chunk things down and do one thing at a time, do it well, and then build on it. So, coming to grips with being a marketer is synonymous with being an entrepreneur. You've got that. And when you are in a business of just one, you're a solopreneur, it's all on your shoulders to get it all done. And I think this is a perfect scenario anyway. The reason being is if you are doing all your marketing on your own, especially at first, you will get to know your ideal customer or your client at such a personal level that you'll be able to develop a communication stream to attract more and more of your ideal customers. I'm telling you, all marketing is, it's just a way to communicate to those you'd like to do business with. It's communication. It's just talking, being helpful to those folks, being genuine and real with folks. That's truly the underlying mission of your marketing. When I first started Scrivener Solutions, I kept reading over and over and over again and hearing it over and over again that I needed to write in order to grow my business. Write, I thought. I don't know even what to say. There are so many others out there that are much more experienced than me in the arena that I've chosen my business in, that why should I write an article? Besides, why would I write something when every subject under the sun has already been done and all you have to do is Google it? But the biggest thing that came to my mind is, what would I even write about? I don't even know where to start. So I waited way far too long to begin my blog. I should have started way before my corporate life had ended. The only thing stopping me was I felt lost of even what to say, or I didn't really understand how the blog would really develop and grow my business over the long term. I had this misperception that I needed to have everything figured out with my business before a formal content plan could be executed. And when I first started out, honestly, I didn't have a clear picture of who my ideal client would be, let alone how to talk to them. But I don't think that should stop you from starting your blog. Like I said, I waited far too long to start my blog because I was waiting until I had everything figured out. And you know what? The best time to start is when you don't have things figured out yet. In fact, at the risk of sounding kind of harsh and maybe being misunderstood, I'm going to say that you should start your blog not for your audience, but instead, I would like for you to be completely selfish. Yes. Being selfish isn't a bad thing. And by the way, beginning your blog for you will benefit everyone. Let me tell you why. You need to throw out worrying about a content plan at the beginning. Just throw that out. And even who your ideal client is. Sure, you're going to hear all over the place that you need to have this content plan, you need to have your ideal client set in place, and yes, that's going to make your communication much more effective, but don't let that stop you. Because when you throw out everything and throw caution to the wind about everything that should go into a blog, you'll read all over the place what you need: a call to action, and you need this, and you need a spectacular title, and you need all of this stuff. Just throw it out. Don't worry about all those details in making a beautiful and fancy website to house your blog. Just blog and do it consistently. Get that down and under your belt. The other elements will fall into place later. What you're doing is just getting started and getting the consistency going, and you will conquer this. The most important thing you can do for yourself is to create a routine of producing a consistent blog. When you put yourself out there and adhere to a publishing schedule of consistent blog posts, you are getting into a new routine. You're holding yourself accountable that, hey, I have a deadline and I need to get this out. Even if no one is listening, you're doing it for yourself. At first, it's going to seem terribly overwhelming, but hang in there. It may seem like it takes forever to produce just one piece of content, but what this is doing for you is training yourself. You're training yourself to become a better entrepreneur. You're training yourself to become a better marketer. You are learning the marketing process firsthand. So blog for you. When you are working for someone else, their processes and customer base are already in place. You are merely a piece of the whole operation of that company. But when you're working for yourself, you are creating your company and the processes out of thin air. Entrepreneur equals marketer. That's it. Blogging is a part of what you do to develop and nurture an audience, a following for long-term growth of your business. Through your blog, people will get to know you better. Even if you are blogging and you feel you are just talking to crickets, which, by the way, you may very well be blogging to no one at first, but be okay with that. Your content is not going to be perfect at first. Be okay with that. But what you need to remember is at first, you just need to start and commit to being consistent. Show up each and every time. Create a schedule for yourself and adhere to it. Now, what should your blog be? In my mind, a blog is either a written article, a video, or a podcast. It's either written, video, or audio. The traditional blog name means an article, but now it's pretty much content that can be housed onto your website. But I'd like for you just to get started. Pick one, either the written word, a video, or audio communication. One of these three mediums is published on a consistent basis on your website. It would be intuitive that articles would be the easiest to start, but not necessarily. It depends on your personality and your workflow. Now, I have a client that has challenges with dyslexia. He is wonderfully articulate, but is highly frustrated when it comes to the written word. So he chooses to have his blogging routine to be video. I personally have started out with articles, but now I focus my commitment to content with this weekly podcast. So whatever you feel the most comfortable with, just choose one. Choose either a written article, a video, or audio. Get things started and get things out of your head and out to the world. When you start, I'm telling you, none of the choices may sound appealing. So, it's going to be new to you, and of course, you won't have everything figured out. And of course, you will struggle as to what you want to say. And of course, you may feel that the first things you publish, quite frankly, suck. Well, you know what? That is perfectly okay. You just pick one, an article, a video, or audio. Pick one and just do it, and do it on a consistent basis. And when you begin blogging, you're doing it for you so that you can become more comfortable along the way. You are stretching yourself to grow, to develop the discipline to produce consistent content. As you do it, you learn and figure out what you want to say. You'll learn and figure out who your ideal client is, and you'll get better. I guarantee it. It just becomes easier as you do it more often. You become more experienced with it. And like I told you earlier, I waited way too long to begin my blog. And then when I started, I wasn't consistent. And that may be you as well. Maybe you've started and stopped or what have you. I kept reading and hearing others say how important it was, but I simply just didn't get it or didn't want to believe it of how important blogging was to my business. I'd hear things like writing or your blog positions you as an authority in your niche. It gives you credibility. And you know what? It is absolutely true. No one will know what you know unless you demonstrate. No one will want to work with you unless they believe that you can help them. How can you gain the belief from others that you can help them? By establishing a relationship and building trust. Over time, with consistent blogging, you build a foundation online as to who you are and what you stand for, and building credibility as to what you know and how you can help folks. You become an expert in what you do. You are an expert in what you do already, but by blogging, you are demonstrating to the world your expertise and opening up a path for people to get to know you so that you can help them out. Hence, you're growing your business. My clients all the time ask how often they should blog. Well, all the experts say a minimum of once a week. I have found that when you're first starting out and you don't know what you're doing, a weekly blog can sound intimidating. And I believe that you should not bite off more than you can chew, honestly. I recommend to most of my clients, and it just depends on what they believe that they can do, but some are very anxious and say, well, I'm going to blog every day, or I'm going to blog every week. I'm going to produce a video every week or every day. Don't bite off more than you can chew. I recommend that you work up to once a week, but when you're first starting out, and I'm going to tell you, some things seem to go wrong at first, and it's slower than what you think it should take. I'm just being real with you. So I recommend, and it may cringe, some folks may cringe when I say this, but a minimum of once a month when you're first starting out. I would love to set you up for success versus setbacks. So if you commit to either doing a once a month blog or once a month video or once a month audio podcast, then what you can do from there is concentrate on the process and work on setting aside time to get that one article. That's only 12 in a year. And you can commit to that for 1 year and say, on the 15th of every month, I am going to publish a blog. Whatever date that you do. Don't worry about a complicated content plan. Just commit to showing up for yourself and getting a blog published. Because you're going to struggle with at first, how do you even get it on your website? What should I do on that? So you know that you need to blog. So you know that at first, I don't want you to worry about all the complications. Just do it. And just commit for once a month at a minimum and start feeling good. You start getting the momentum. But now, what do you say? Well, I think that all of us as entrepreneurs, all of us as service providers or coaches or whatever, we forget what we know. We take for granted what we know. So ask or take note on some of the questions that you're answering to your clients. If you don't have any clients whatsoever, just start producing things that you have learned, that you're excited about, and writing articles or making videos or podcasts out of those subjects. Soon, conversations are going to stem and there's going to be ideas. You're going to start thinking, oh, well, that's bloggable. And you're going to jot down notes. You see, the more you do it, the easier it becomes. And you may have someone in your life, like an accountability partner or your husband, your wife, anybody like that you might could bounce ideas off of. I know for many of my clients, I serve as a sounding board, and I help them develop their content plan. We sit down and I get to know them, and the longer that I know them, the better that I know them. And it's kind of funny that I can just point out things that perhaps they can talk about. And they learn and train themselves. It's like, well, this is bloggable. This is something that I can get out to the world. I can put my angle on this particular topic. The longer that you do it, the longer that you communicate, you are going to attract people that like your style. They like your mannerisms. You know, before starting this podcast, I had such a big hang up of listening to my own voice. It's crazy, but yes, I just could not stand to listen to my own voice. But I don't think I'm alone. You know, it's kind of weird to hear my own voice, to kind of edit my podcast, and I would cringe. I mean, my stomach would turn. It's like, oh, I just hate this. I could hear different family members in my voice. It was kind of creepy, but it's just how it is. But then now, after, I don't know how many episodes, 67, I think that is the episode that we're on. And then my husband and I been there doing that podcast. So we have well over 60 episodes there. So we've done over 120 episodes. I'm getting used to my voice now, and it's getting easier to produce the content. It's getting easier and faster of doing it, and it's becoming routine. So it's just a part of what we do, and it's a part of doing business. If it's already been said before and you can Google it, why on earth should I do it? Well, I'm telling you, even though that it's been said before and maybe said 100 times, it hasn't been said by you, and you need to have your content out. You need to teach people, be helpful, share whatever it is that you do. If you are helping with accounting, if you're helping people with, if you're a crafter or craftsman, then you need to share your products, maybe how you're doing things, share the finished products, or just share why you're doing certain projects. Just share and get used to the process and be okay with not having a lot of followers, because the other elements will click later. The very, 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 very first thing that you need to do is set a schedule, be committed to that schedule. If you're going to say to yourself that, okay, I'm not going to bite off more than I can chew. I'm going to do what Gayla says and say, okay, once a month. That's only 12 a year. That is not so bad. I can do this. So then you commit to that, decide what day of the month that you're going to publish, and then put it on your calendar to block out the time to get that article written. I've even encouraged some folks, it's like, hey, if you do all 12 episodes or articles all at once, more power to you. You are done for the whole year. That is great. Very few will do that because you will get used to the process by doing it once a month, and then you'll get used to batching your process. But all in good time. I'm telling you, you create leverage for yourself. You create a following. You create credibility when you produce consistent content. And the reason why you need a blog is that your message is on your platform, your website. If you have any questions about how to get started on that, I encourage you to drop us an email at info@scrivenersolutions.com. That's info@scrivener solutions.com. I am so glad that you joined us. I hope today's episode was helpful to you. I hope that it has encouraged you to get started with consistent content with your blog, and has put a little fire under you to realize that you don't have to have everything figured out to get started. In fact, it is super cool that you don't have everything figured out, because each one of our businesses is a different ecosystem, if you will, and we're not all the same. We all have our own personalities, and we will find our path. Now, there are certain things that we should be doing as business owners, and blogging being one of them, and it may be so foreign to you, but you will get used to it and be okay with it not being perfect all at once. But when you make the transition in your mind that, hey, this is just what you do as a business owner, someday you're going to be able to delegate certain pieces of that. But right now, don't worry about that. Don't worry about all the stuff that will come later. Just commit to yourself that this is what needs to be done. Because when the time comes that you're going to do more paid advertising, you're going to have your foundation built. and you're going to be building that and strengthening that foundation. You're going to be well on your way to making big things happen for yourself. Now, if you found this episode helpful, I would be super honored if you would subscribe either in iTunes or Stitcher or any of your favorite players. And like I said before, feel free if you have any questions or comments. You can email us at info@scrivenersolutions.com. And until next time, have a fantastic week.